Once we were many, now we are few. Hunters, killers of the world's filth. Witchers, the ultimate killing machines. Among us, a legend. The one they call Geralt of Rivia, the White Wolf.
We meet again, Witcher.
Your Imperial Majesty.
She's returned, Geralt. After all these years.
Are you sure it's her?
Yes. And she's in danger. Witnesses claim the Wild Hunt follows her. You must find her.
And when I do, what then?
I shall give her what she deserves.
White Wolf, at last. I come for her of the prophecy. Every decision you make will bring devastation. Each choice will lead to a greater evil.
In this presentation, we will make a game analysis of The Witcher 3, as well as talk about the negative and positive aspects of gaming in general. The Witcher is a video game series by CG Projekt Red. There are to date 3 Witcher games in the series: The Witcher: Rise of the White Wolf, The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings, and The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. The Witcher is based on a series of books by the same name. The books were published by Andrew Sapkowicz, a Polish writer. The first of the games was released in 2009 and the newest was released in 2015 for all platforms except Mac, and received critical acclaim from critics with praise of its gameplay, narrative, world design, combat and visuals, although it received minor criticism due to technical issues that were later patched out of the game. It got numerous Game of the Year awards. Some even say that it is the best game ever. It also had a commercial success, selling over 10 million copies by March 2016.
In the game The Witcher 3, you play as a character named Geralt of Rivia, and he's something called the Witcher, a professional monster slayer. The world of The Witcher is a grim fantasy setting with your typical dragons and vampires, but also consists of Slavic folklore. Living as a human in this world is dangerous, so to counteract the high monster activity, they decide to select a few number of children who primarily stolen from their homes, so they can be trained to become monster slayers, or witchers as they are called in the game. Each witcher must undergo a series of mutations to enhance senses, strength, perception, and toxicity intake for potions. But all these benefits come with negatives as well, like infertility and loss of emotions. Geralt's quest is to find and save his long-lost foster child Ciri, who is being chased by a group called the Wild Hunt, who wants her for her special abilities. The game has a heavy focus on a movie-like plot with use of handcrafted cutscene angles, voice actors, and photorealistic looks. The Witcher takes itself seriously by having the player choose between lesser evils, but also doesn't shy away from parodying itself and real-world culture. The game is an open-world one, which means that while you have a main quest to follow, you can still walk around and kill random monsters and do contracts if that's what you'd like. Being a Witcher comes with its perks. A Witcher is never short of tools. They are trained in multiple ways of handling a problem, from curses to vermin extermination. Geralt's primary weapons are his signature silver and steel swords, as well as his signs of power. Every sign of power represents an element, and those are channeled by Geralt moving his fingers in corresponding to the symbol of the sign. Igni. It is one of the most common signs a Witcher uses. Igni is the symbol of fire. Its uses are great for hitting multiple enemies at once, since the blast is spread in a cone, or you can upgrade it to mimic a flamethrower for single target use. Ard is a telekinetic spell that creates a force that pushes back objects and enemies, usually used to make distance from your opponent or to knock them on their ass.
Yrden is a spell that creates a circle of glyphs on the floor to slow down enemies or force specters to enter material plane within the circle. Axii is a spell that uses hypnosis to manipulate characters in the game to gain new dialogue options that favor you. It can also be used in offense to stun opponents or make them turn on their friends. Quen is a defensive spell that shields the player, absorbing one blow or negate heat when you dive in boiling water.
When you play The Witcher, you look at the game from a third-person perspective. The camera is always positioned behind the main character unless there is a cutscene.
The game has a realistic look and takes place in a medieval settings. The game has some vibrant colors that make the world become more alive while still having grey and dirty look to its surroundings and buildings. The game can be categorized as a grim fantasy, hence the dark forest and wicked creatures.
The soundtrack for The Witcher 3 consists of 35 tracks and was created by 3 different bands or composers. The soundtracks in The Witcher 3 makes the player more immersed in the game. Some of the soundtracks for The Witcher 3 was partially made by a Polish folk music band called Percival, and they're from Poland. The band named themselves after a gnome in the game and books called Percival. Before they worked on the soundtrack for The Witcher 3.
The article is written by Drew Guarini and explains that video games can help counteract mental illness, and I think this applies well to The Witcher since it's a fantasy game like the one in the article where you restore order, but I also believe The Witcher is better at this because your actions have consequences and you are punished by doing what is immoral. Like the game creates obstacles if you decide to act like an asshole.
Video games can also help stroke victims. For stroke victims, it can be nearly impossible to restore their speech and movement back to normal, but a study shows video games might help. The study was by Debbie Rand from Aviv University. The study was on individuals who had a stroke 1 to 7 years before the study. First, they were split into 2 groups. One group would do regular rehabilitation exercises while the other would play video games on Xbox, PlayStation, and Wii. After the study, it was pretty clear that using video games for stroke patients' rehabilitation was better. This is because while both groups showed improvement in their hand movements after the study, the video